The reaction to the announcement of Sony's PlayStation 5 Pro has been absolutely bonkers. Like, you know what's a good way to demonstrate hot new tech for 2025? Yeah, you guessed it. Show off a game that was originally released on last generation hardware in the year 2020. Look, I get it. Gaming hardware has had diminishing returns in the last few years. We've dealt with record inflation, and it's really difficult these days for $100 billion companies. I get it. Times are tough, but $700 for a diskless console whose vertical stand is sold separately feels like we've lost the plot entirely. It used to be that consoles had several major advantages over PCs, and we've seen those advantages erode over the years. PC has been getting almost all the console games, including manufacturer exclusives, and the PC experience has continued to get more and more streamlined. And that's before you get into the inherent advantages of PC gaming like free online and a library that you can feel confident will be playable on future hardware without jumping through any hoops. But the one advantage you could at least still count on from the multi-billion-dollar corporations that oversee console gaming is that they would subsidize the cost of the hardware to get you in the door. And that would at least make consoles more affordable than buying a PC. But this is becoming less and less true with each passing year, and PS5 Pro is exemplary of this problem. It costs $699 before tax in the US, but even that's not quite as bad as the £699 in the UK or €799 in the EU, both of which are worse than the US price. Then, if you're someone that wants to be able to play your PS5 and PS4 discs, you need to pay $80 for the privilege of having a disc drive. And if you want to be able to stand up your console vertically because that's the orientation that works best in your media stand, then that's going to run you an additional $30, which brings the total to $810. Do you know what kind of PC you can build for $800? And then what if you already have a PC and you just need an upgrade? You can spend a lot less. It just feels like the PS5 Pro is an absolute luxury item the way the Neo Geo was when that came out. Again, I will say I'm aware that inflation means these numbers now are different than those numbers then. If you're just looking at these prices in an inflation calculator, then the Neo Geo is more like $950 in today's dollars. But this fails to take into account the contemporary competition. Neo Geo was much more expensive than its contemporaries. And these days, like I said, you can build a PC that competes with the PS5 Pro for not much more than the Pro itself. Beyond that, you'll get free multiplayer, consistent backwards compatibility, and the ability to leverage homebrew like mods and emulators. I suspect that this is why Steam has been getting bigger and bigger and breaking concurrent user records at what feels like a monthly cadence. But let's just say $800 is the right price for this piece of tech, and this tech is actually amazing. Well, that showcase didn't do a good job of making the case for the tech. I can't bring myself to believe that Sony's brief 9-minute presentation did anything to convince anyone that the PS5 Pro is worthwhile. Like, I have to imagine that most of the people that are going to buy the PS5 Pro were always going to buy it. Even the most cynical of us tech heads, we love Mark Cerny, and naturally, he's built up some goodwill with the community. But on that same token, our expectations for him are high as well. So if he tells us that this is what the PS5 Pro is capable of, and what he shows us is not impressive, then we're going to take that and come to the conclusion that the PS5 Pro is simply not impressive. We see Mark Cerny and we expect a technical breakdown that's worthy of being placed on the Digital Foundry channel, if not better. Instead, what we got is a breakdown that would be a better fit on the Fanded Deck channel. It briefly showed us that we no longer have to choose between what has become the standard graphical options, fidelity and performance. We'll now be able to get the graphical showcase of the fidelity option with the frame rate of the performance option. No compromise. Of course, this was reasonably justified with the premise that 3/4 of players are actually choosing to play on the performance option. So in a way, it makes more sense to showcase that you can continue playing at 60 FPS or greater, but with the more impressive fidelity. But on the other hand, it kind of fails to see the forest for the trees. If 3/4 of players are choosing to use the performance option, it's precisely because they think the graphics are good enough as they are. The consumer that would rather get double the frame rate at the cost of nominal graphical fidelity is not going to pay $800 for a new console with the same graphical fidelity that they've already decided is not that worthwhile. I mean, hell, you know what game has been bringing me the most joy on the PlayStation 5 lately? Of course you do. It's Astro Bot. Yes, I am a die-hard PC player that's been spending less and less time on my console, but this was a game that I absolutely needed to play, and I'm not disappointed by that decision at all. And my answer is not unique. Everyone's been loving Astro Bot. To that end, it is a beautiful game, but it doesn't seem like it's pushing up against the constraints of the PlayStation 5. Sony choosing to push new expensive hardware down our throats now is their just put the fries in the bag, bro moment, because all we want them to do is make worthwhile, engaging video games and not Concord and not $800 consoles. But you know what? None of this matters if the PS5 Pro sells out. I saw this tweet the day before the announcement and it said, I predict tomorrow will include a shockingly high price, a lot of people telling you that you don't need it, instantly selling out as soon as pre-orders open. So far, 2 of those 3 things have happened, and if Jordan here scores a hat trick, then I think we're all in for a rude awakening as far as gaming hardware goes, because it means consoles will only continue to get more expensive, which is tricky in a world where GPU manufacturers are already running to please the AI bros more than the players of video games. I can't say I know which way this will go, but I lean towards thinking people have had enough and people don't really have this amount of disposable income to spend on a luxury item. What do you think?